Very good.
Hello, guys. Welcome to the AirWatch MDM training part 2. Today we're going to do question and answers. So if you guys have specific questions, we're going to actually put up a link to a Google Doc that you guys can actually put your questions in. We'll go ahead and read them and give you the best answer we can. So let's go ahead and go over there. Oh, not that one. Let's see.
Hold on.
Which one? Oh, that. Sorry, guys. Totally the wrong button.
Oh. Welcome.
Welcome.
Yep.
And then I do. Oh, right.
Close this.
Thanks. There we go. Good deal. You want to go ahead and forward that to him?
I can forward it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So how about I show you guys some of the new features that just came out with the new release of AirWatch 847. So I'm not going to show you how they work because I don't have an iPad set up to stream at the moment. We're going to actually capture some videos of that later on. But right now I can go ahead and show you within the AirWatch console. Go ahead and show you how we can go ahead and create those profiles that will allow you to manage the home screen. So we'll start there. So you start with going to log into the AirWatch console. Click on Devices. Click on Profiles, List View. I have far more than you guys do, so don't worry about what you see here. The important thing is right here where we go to Add. So go Add Profile. So something you always want to remember anytime that you're actively making a profile is that what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are not creating more than one payload per profile. So what that means is, so over here on the left-hand side, each one of these is considered a payload. There's only a handful of very, very small exceptions to the rule. But say we're doing a restrictions payload inside this specific profile. Let's go ahead and call it test home screen layout. So inside this now test home screen layout, I'm only going to do the home screen stuff on this one, and the reason is because it's harder to push down to devices if you're pushing more than one. It does fail on occasion, more often. So what we do is to get to the home screen layout though is we want to scroll down to the bottom here, right here, where it says home screen layout. Go ahead and click there, and click Configure. All right. So what you're seeing here is this is how. Whatever iPad you're assigning this profile to, this is everything the way that the home screen will lay out would be. So in the dock, if you don't put anything in this dock, you will see no applications in the dock. So if we wanted to, let's go ahead and put settings in the dock. So you can go here and you can actually see that it says, settings is a native application. You click there, and now that application on the iPad will show up inside the dock. Or if we want to make sure Safari stays in the dock. So, you have a teacher that the students keep moving around all the icons. We can go ahead and say, well, Safari just needs to stay in the dock. You can go ahead and do that with Safari here. Let's move on to the pages. So with the pages, any application you don't assign to a folder or to a page will automatically default to the page 1. So page 1 here is the one that when you first set up an iPad, we'll have your settings, your Safari, App Store, iTunes, etc. That's the very first one with applications available. So again, you type in an application. Let's say you want light sail. You choose light sail, and I know that it's a little confusing here because it has a lot of different versions, but the important part is this com.lightsail.creamsoda. Strange name. And also they have this one. I would actually have to double check this, but it should be the same for yours in your setting, because this is actually populating all of the applications inside of Denver Public Schools. So, but we could go ahead and click there, and that would populate on to force it to stay on page 1. In fact, the order that you order these things in, so now light sail will be the very first application on the list. And then let's go ahead and do some quick folders here. So we're going to go ahead and label this. Let's do coding. So we know that several of the schools go ahead and use the Scratch Junior right here. See that Scratch Junior? Now what will happen is on page 1, it'll create a folder named coding, and then it'll automatically put that Scratch Junior application inside that folder. And then we can go ahead and create extra pages. So let's say if you really want to get wild with it, you could create a page for every single app. But let's we can be a little conservative there. So depends on how you have it set up. Maybe your teacher wants page 1 to be literacy applications. You could do that, and page 2 is math applications, etc. And we always want to go up here and make sure under general that we've named it, and that these settings generally don't change. There's not a lot of reason to change them. And then we just assign it to whichever group here. So I used to be a STR at Roberts, so we'll just call this 194 students. That's their school number, and we could just push this out to all the students, and all the iPads would be set up this way. Or you would define it to a specific classroom and make a smart group specifically for that. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and do another one real quick. Show you how to do hide applications. So again, let's name it. And then on the left side here, we'll go ahead and go to restrictions. From here, always click configure. It's the only way to get into it. If let's say that you mistakenly, just a quick tip, if you mistakenly clicked Wi-Fi and you click configure, if you don't want to scrap all your work, you would just come down here to this little minus, get rid of it, and then it comes back to the screen, and no payloads are pushed during that. So again, we're sticking to a single payload, 1 restrictions. And something you should know, you can have multiple restriction profiles. So you can have restrictions for one class or another, or restrictions for the whole school, and then specific restrictions for, say, your kindergarten compared to your 5th grade, or so on and so forth. So on here, we're going to go back down to the hide applications, which is quite a ways down, but it's fairly distinctive here. So right here, we have show applications. I haven't found a use case for that yet, but I'm sure we'll figure something out. But under the hide applications, this is where we can start hiding the iTunes store. I know that we already have that availability, but you can hide that application through this, or
the Find My Friends.
Yeah, Find My Friends. Right, or I'll find my iPhone. Let's see. Let's just try Friends. Find Friends. I'm not sure what they label it. Find Friends. There you go. Find Friends. We can hide all of those pesky iOS pre-installed applications here. So we've got, like I said, Find My iPhone, Find Friends. All those can be hidden so that students don't utilize them. And so that's how you hide application. You just save and publish and go on.
Exceptions. Settings and home. Remember.
Right. So at this time, I apologize. So settings can never be hidden. It's one of those. It's the one thing that Apple has gone and said absolutely not. No one gets to hide settings. It is a user's right to get into the settings so they can modify Wi-Fi settings, etc. There's a handful of things that they have rights to that Apple just says no matter the circumstances, the user has those rights. And also, AirWatch does not currently support. There's a new app in iOS 10. It's called Home, and it does not come up in here. Let me see. It is com.apple home, I believe. .home, and it doesn't come up in here. With the assistance of the MDM team, myself and Thomas, you're more than welcome to contact us, and we can actually do a custom setting to hide that specific application. Just give us send a ticket in through either the DoTS hotline or through Heat Self Service, and we'll go ahead and help you get that one hidden for you. It's just a simple custom setting, but it's a little more involved than just coming in here and typing in what you want. So we'll go ahead and close this. So one more new feature. Let's say, so today I had an iPad that an STR emailed me and said it was missing, and they couldn't find it. So I'm going to come in here and let's just pretend this one right here, if it had a mess, has gone missing. So the things we can do, well, bad example, that one's on iOS 8, which we recommend not having any on iOS 8 because you can't push volume purchase program applications. It's much more difficult to push things. But here's one at Ashley. We'll go ahead and it's on iOS 9.3.4, as you can see here. We'll go ahead and click there. So inside the device details is what this is called. So I went to devices, list view, and then I chose my iPad. I can come up here to this more actions. I'll click it and come down here to this enable loss mode. What this enable loss mode does is it actually emulates the iCloud lock loss mode, much like Find My iPhone. And what it can do is it'll actually lock down the iPad, put a message on the front screen. Here, we'll go ahead and click it so you can see. So we'd actually, up here, we'd put in a message. So this iPad, belongs to Ashley. And then you would just put in the phone number here. So we could do the DoTS hotline. 333-888. Let's see. Is that
extra 3?
Too many threes there. But anyway, so you can you put that in there and that'll show up on the lock screen of the device. As well as once it's completed, once that's been sent to the device, we can come back up to this more actions menu. And right here, it'll pop up and say
request device location.
Request device location. In fact, let me find one for you.
He said we can lock this one if we don't care. If he doesn't care if we lock this one.
Right here. This is one of them I use to test. So this is one of the iPads I use. So we'll go up here, more actions, enable loss mode, and there we go. And now, once that receives the command, see it hasn't received it yet. We're going to go ahead and do a quick refresh. Come over here.
We need a query.
Let's go ahead and do a quick query. See if it comes up. Well, apparently it wants to make this a little difficult on me. But what will happen is it'll come up here and say request locations.
We can use this one.
That's all right. We'll go on. All right. So let's go ahead and go to the questions. All right. Awesome. Anybody else have any questions? Brian, do you have any questions?
I don't have a computer, so I can't really mess around with some stuff right now.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Well, let me see. Let's see if I can remember some of the new things. So something you may have already noticed if you've been in the console is that inside of list view, right here, right? AirWatch made a minor fix to or modification so that it's less confusing. They have made the primary actions menu, which is this more actions. They've relabeled it so it's less confusing. It's something we're going to be updating in our documentation so that it reflects that. But so inside of these devices, like here, so before we would have two more buttons, and it was quite confusing. We have to explain that it's the far right top more instead of that. Now it's the more actions button, which is a nice fix. So, all right. All right, so you're asking if how to set up the home screen and hide apps is on the STR website. It is not yet. We've started the documentation, but we have to actually send it through and have it edited and confirm that it is concise and not confusing. So we should have that up by next week, though. How do you delete tags and assignment groups? Okay, so let's go back into AirWatch in here. So let me change this to, so here's one of our testing things. Okay, so in the assignment groups, well, let's go back to tags. So unfortunately, AirWatch doesn't allow us to do bulk removal of tags. So let's say you went through and you put one tag on every device, and you did that by mistake. Unfortunately, they don't give us the tools to do that within the console. So right here you see that those 5 devices have the Zane tag. So what we can do is we actually open up the device in the device details here, and we can either do 2 things. We can either come into the more actions, go to the add tag. Let me go back and slow that down. So more actions. Click the add tag under the admin column. And then in here, you can actually unclick some of those, any of those that you have selected. The other option is if you scroll down inside this summary, you can actually see that it actually lists the tag here. And all it takes is just a click there, and it's gone. So if we move on to another device, so we have it here, we can actually move on to another device and see what tags it has, and again, click and remove it. And so you might be wondering, well, what if I have a lot of tags, but I don't want to go through each device, and some of them have it and some of them don't? We can actually come in here and filter. So this filter has a lot of options. It's not super intuitive, but under the advanced one, we can come here. We can go to tags, and we can actually search for the tag we want. So I was removing the Zane tag right here. And now all the devices with the Zane tag will come up right here. So I can go ahead and click that one, come down, and remove the tag there. So, and that's the best way, unfortunately, to remove tags. So now let's go on to the assignment groups. So we go to groups and settings on the left-hand side and click groups. From here we go down to assignment groups. And this is where we find all of your smart groups. So we see we have these 3 smart groups. So something we want to take note of here is the assignment column right here. So this one here under this Google Test assignment group, if I came here and clicked the check mark next to it and went to delete, go ahead and click OK. It says the smart group is assigned to a policy and it must be unassigned first. So what you do is you can come over here where it says assignment and click where it says on here where it says 6, and we can see that under this Google Test one we've got a Google account, and we have all these applications. So what we do to be able to delete this one is we'd have to come over here, go to Devices, Profiles, List View. We got to find that Google account here. Let's see. I do believe it's this one here. Go to Edit. And right there, so we can see that it's assigned to the Google's Test iPads here, that assignment group. So we'll have to X out of that first, save and publish, and then let's go back and see what's left. We'll go to Groups, Assignment Groups, and there we go. The assignments have been reduced to 5. So if I do that again and try to delete it, it's going to give me the same message. So now I need to go and figure out which applications I'm pushing to it. So I've got Google Hangout, Gmail, Google Drive, Classroom, Google Chrome. All right, so we'll go over into our applications. It's going to go List View and then Purchased. So in here, I'll go down and I'll find, so we have Google, the Gmail, right? We'll go ahead and go to Edit Assignments. And here it is again, and we just exit out here and save. Google Classroom, exit out, save. And I'll just do this real quick so I can show you that once all the assignments are gone, you can actually delete those assignment groups.
You have Drive too.
Drive? Let me refresh it real quick. See what is assigned and what's not now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, I missed Drive. All right, exit out and save. All right, from here, I shouldn't have anything else assigned to that assignment group. Again, groups and settings. But let me go ahead and change that back. But we go ahead and groups and settings. Groups, you can either come here or you can come here and choose the menu on that side. All right, so now, as you can see, it says no assignments here. So 0 assignments. 1 device is still assigned to it, but that's okay. So the devices assignment is fine because it's actually the test group that actually has it here, which is my daughter. So we'll go ahead and click here, click delete, and okay. And now it's deleted successfully. All right, let's see. How do you remove a iPad from assignment group? Okay, so it depends on how you have it set up. So that Google test group that I had, here, let me go ahead and show you how it was. So right here, if we go select here, so this is how I had it set up for my daughter. So when I was testing on her account, you know, don't tell anybody. This is how I had it set up. So it was actually specifically targeting her user account. So it depends on how you have gone through and you've set it up. Our base recommendation is to utilize tags, and the way you would get it out of that smart group is to remove that tag. So I'll go ahead and show you that again and how it impacts the smart group. But we'll go ahead and see here. So if you wanted to remove, if I wanted to remove my daughter from this and remove her devices that are associated, I would just uncheck her and I'd click save. It's not going to give me any real information here because I haven't named it, and you have to actually have criteria for it to save. But you would just uncheck the user here. Or in the case that we were targeting her specific device, right here, see, it's the same thing here. We would just, again, under here, uncheck that device and then click save. So for devices, right here, so here's mine that I utilize as a test group. So I actually have this one assigned to tags, which is a way that we recommend doing. So right here, this smart group is actually targeting this tag right here, the Zane tag that we went through and we deleted a few of. So we can see now that we have 5 devices in the group. So we're going to go ahead and leave here. And the other way you can see how many devices is right here under the devices column. So we'll go ahead and we're going to go back and we're going to search for one of those devices. So most of those are labeled with my name. So here we go, right here. So we've got test-zane-101. If we want that out of that smart group, which we'll go ahead and go back and verify that it's in there, we can either click right here or we can click right here where the 5 is to verify. See, right, test-zane-101. It's in there. It's in that smart group. So what we want to do is we'll go ahead and click here, scroll down, and exit out of the tag. Once that's complete, it should be out of that smart group now. So we're going to go back and look. So now we only have 4 devices in this smart group. We'll go ahead and we can open it up and show you here. So that method is based on tags. Let's see. There are a few other ways that smart groups work, like right here. We have all the DoTS devices. These devices we use for testing and all that stuff. So this right here is actually targeting every device in this smart group, not in the smart group, in the organizational group. Let's say you made a smart group that just targets everything, just made one real quick and easy, and I can actually just repeat it real quick. So you click add smart group, and we'll do all. And here it's targeting 15 just like the other one. This is actually automatically targeting all of the ones in this organizational group. So let's say you did that, and well, let's say you have your administration's iPads in there and you don't want them to receive the restrictions that you're pushing to everybody else. You could actually come down here to exclusions, and you could exclude out, well, let's exclude out that Zane-101 iPad right here. We can click that, click add here. Look here, before I click it, it does say 15 devices. We click that add in the exclusion, and now we're down to 14. And then once I save, we have this new smart group, the all one, with 14 devices. All right. Let's see. Did that answer your question, Anne? Let's see. I'm gonna move on. We'll come back and I'll double check with you if you guys have you want to expand on those questions. How do you enable kiosk mode? That's great. So we have a school, I believe it's Centennial, that actually utilizes kiosk mode for light sale. Let's go ahead.
Mine, I think, used to as well. I'm
Okay.
not sure if they still do.
Let's go ahead and look at that. So, single app mode or kiosk mode is actually a profile. So you log into the console, go to devices, profiles, list view, and we're going to go ahead and just add a new one. We'll go ahead and click iOS, and let's go. All right, so now we need to go ahead and push one of our payloads. So let's see, single app mode right here. Single app mode is actually kiosk mode. So there's a few ways that it's going to list that you can do it, but there are a handful of things that you want to be aware of. So if you click here, the permit apps for autonomous single app mode, which is a kiosk mode that is enabled by the application. So TestNav utilizes this. There's not a lot that actually will take control and actually utilize this. So you don't want to click that unless you're doing like a testing application and it's designed specifically to utilize that feature. So keep it here on lock device into single app mode. So I was talking about how they did it with light sale. Let's see if I have light sale. There we go. Light sale education. We'll go ahead and this would, by putting that in there, and again, you can search for any application. Let's go ahead and also do, well, hey, there you go, Angry Birds. My kids love Angry Birds, so right there we could go ahead and even lock it into Angry Birds. Or let's say you wanted to lock it into Safari. So you knew that you have a project and you want kids to focus on their research and they're going to utilize Safari. We can go ahead and lock it down to Safari. And then we can come through here and choose what we want to disable. So you can disable the touchscreen, which is oftentimes not something you want to do. But you can do everything from changing it, making it so it doesn't do rotation. Or maybe you've turned down the volume completely and you don't want the students to turn up the volume. You could disable that volume button so it no longer makes any noise. So ringer switch, disable sleep wake button. The sleep wake button is the top, like the power button on the very top. Disable auto lock. So this one would make it so that if the device went to sleep, it won't automatically lock. If you press the home button, the application will pop up. So on and so forth. Disable zoom. Most of them are pretty straightforward. I haven't played with the assistive touch or anything like that. Most of these times we leave these intact. So, but that's how you do kiosk mode. All right, let's go ahead and look at the other questions. Yes, so we don't actually utilize the Find My iPhone app. What we do is come up here, and so let's see if I can actually pull this off. So I enable that lost mode on that iPad of mine. I need to change this so I can find it. All right, back over here. Let's see if that action actually completed. Doesn't look like it did. All right, so Brian here has offered for me to actually use one of his iPads to demonstrate this. Let's see. I gotta find his name real quick. All right, here it is. So the device is checked in 8 minutes ago. So we'll come up here. So once you found it, once you found the iPad you want, and like I said, there, I should probably explain a couple things here. I jumped quite a bit around. So I oftentimes will use this search up here because it will allow me to go through and sort through how I want to find that. So let's say I wanted to look for the device. I could look for the device here, or I could choose, well, no, I really want to see the account. And I can go here instead. Let's say, just real quick, so you guys can see what we're dealing with. You can actually search applications as well. So right here, I can go to applications and see all of the applications that are in the district, like the light sales that are installed. And we always want to go with the purchase applications. We rarely want to use public applications. So you would come here and I'd search through that list there. But let's go back and go back to Brian's iPad here. All right, so I'm going to come back up here to more actions. Once I've selected the device and gone into the device details, I'm going to go ahead and enable loss mode test. And wow, I have forgotten my phone number. Let's go ahead and send that to the iPad. So I'm going to try to show you this real quick. It's going to be really small, so I apologize about this. But if you can see that, oh, you can't. It's very, very hard to see. I apologize. But what it does is it just what it does is it says lost iPad, and then it has the message I put in there, which was lost mode test. And then it says call, and then it has that phone number I put in there. But now you guys want to actually locate it. So if we come back here to more actions, I got to refresh it. They like to make sure that you refresh a lot. So, but if we come back up in more actions once we've refreshed it, now you can see this request device location. All right. So we're going to go ahead and click that. And it says the device location was successful. And now we'll come back over here to locations here. Let's see what it comes up with. Hey, look at that. So that device has only been in the building for about a half hour, and it is reporting that it is actually in 1860 Lincoln. So right there, pretty darn close. We're on the north side and everything. So we could then go ahead and say, well, I'm not sure if that's quite an accurate location, and you can request it. Apple actually has stated in some of their trainings that sending that command a handful of times over the course of an hour will actually define that location a little bit better, but it is best to do it over the course of an hour, otherwise it doesn't report perfectly in AirWatch. So let's say we found it. We would just go up here, go ahead and more actions. We'll go ahead and just click disable loss mode, and then click OK. And now let's see if it removed it. And again, I know you guys had a hard time seeing it, but now the iPad is unlocked and able to use again. All right. Good questions, guys. Yes, so there's been some confusion around the Star app and some of those. We've tried to get some clarification from the company, but the Star app does not seem to be working properly through, I believe, the volume purchase program.
Right, and I believe I got an email from them recently saying as of end of this month it is officially no longer supported.
Okay,
for
so
iOS.
let me reiterate what Thomas just said. For the Star application, the company has actually come out and made a statement that they will no longer be supporting the iOS version of the application. But we can show you how to do a handful of web clips. Web clips are great for things like, we have some great resources. Let me switch over to that, to lion.gpsk12.org. So this has some really great things. So we've got these catalogs here. Let me go ahead and find, I know it's here. Maybe it's this one? No. Sorry about that. Give me a second. It's list of school catalogs. There we go. So Roberts is going to have to forgive me. I use them far too often. Should be right here, right? Okay. Oh, Roberts, right there. All right. So I use them way too much. So what we can do is we can click here and say, all right, we know we have the online databases, right? So we have things like Tumblebooks. We can go ahead here, and we want the students to be able to get to this, where they're signed in and they can just start reading the book. What we would do is, I'm going to close this. What we do is come in here. Let's go ahead and I'm going to go back to our testing group. We're going to go ahead and click Apps and Books, List View, and then Web. Right here, we can go ahead and do Add Application. We want to go ahead and specify the organizational group. You guys will actually have 2 listed, most of you. And it depends on how if you want it accessible on a teacher iPad or a staff iPad, you can go ahead and just leave it at your top level. But we'll come down here to platforms. All right? We'll go ahead and choose Apple iOS. And go ahead and click Continue. Now we need to name it. So I'm going to go ahead and use Tumblebooks, right? And then we need to put in a URL. So if I come here and I click right here for Tumblebooks, and I just copy this across right here, what's going to happen is when that student uses that to actually view Tumblebooks, they're not going to actually log in, and they're not going to have access to the full content available to them. So what we want to do, we'll go ahead and close that back up, is we want to come over here and we want to right click on this link. We'll go ahead and right click and click Save Link As. Oh, I apologize, back up. Right click, copy link address. So again, that's right click on the link and copy link address. We'll come back up to Applications, paste this into the URL, and as you can see, this one is authenticating as Roberts right there specifically. That's why we have to capture that specific address. All right, and we're just going to come over here and go Tumblebooks. All right, and now we want to create an image for it. So those images that you see, the icons on the home screen, we want to actually have that put on there. So we're going to go and just find a quick icon, because Google has most everything. We're going to go ahead and come here. We want images. There we go. So I'm going to find a quick one here, right? We'll just pick right there. That one looks good. Green background. So I'm going to go ahead and click View Image. I'm going to save this to the computer. Right, I'll just put it right on the desktop. Come back up to Applications. Go ahead, click. Go back and find where you put it, which I put it on the desktop. And it's right here. Click Open. There we go. We've got the Tumblebooks one. All right, now we go to Assignments. And this is where you would choose your group. So I like assigning things to my test iPads. We'll go in here and assign it to that. And then at this point, if you wanted, you could also do exclusions. Well, I want to make sure that any of them I'm doing the test nav push on they're not going to get that. So I could do that as an exclusion. But then we just click Save and Publish. Now those 4 iPads that we had set up for with my tags in that smart group will get that. We'll get the Tumblebooks web clip, and those students will be able to just click on that web clip, and it'll launch Safari automatically and authenticate through that URL that we put in there. All right, so unfortunately, I do not know the STAR website or the web addresses, so I can't really show you that exactly. But if David would like to send me that email, I would be more than happy to send it out to all of you. If an iPad, so here's the next question. If an iPad is already out of your building when you turn on lost mode, can the iPad receive that request if connected to another network? Absolutely. So AirWatch is set up specifically so that the iPads can communicate with the AirWatch server no matter what wireless network they're connected to. If for some reason you had an iPad with cellular connectivity like 3G or 4G connectivity, it would actually send those commands across that as well. So yes, absolutely you can do that. In fact, I've actually tested it at my house, utilized it, and it showed exactly where it is. My house, it's fairly new, so it shows it just in this really big field because the map hasn't caught up yet, but it does definitely show you. So David was just asking a question, I think. All right. Any other questions then? Brian, any questions? No?
Can't come up with anything right now.
All right. Let's see. I can just do some highlights on our recommendation on things. That way we can just reiterate a few things. Like, we do always recommend utilizing the purchase applications, which is the volume purchase program. We always want to use this because this one, when set up correctly, can push to any iOS or iOS Plus. So iOS 9, and iOS 10 devices can receive these applications without having to have an iTunes account. And it also pushes fairly seamlessly to the devices. So I can actually, as you can see here, I can go ahead and just assign. And then right here, let me see if I have one that I can actually show you. All right, let's go ahead and go buy one. Maybe not the best idea. Let's see. But what you would see here is, let's say we wanted to enable device assignment. We would just click here, and there's a blue button right here that says enable device assignment. You would click it, and that is what allows the iPad to receive it without an iTunes account. And then you would go through here and assign it. This here, this public tab right here, this one, when utilized, will require the iPad to have an iTunes account and will prompt the user or the STR or whoever has it in hand when it gets pushed. It'll prompt them to enter the iTunes password, no matter if it's a free or paid application. Whereas here, you can actually push both of them out seamlessly without that iTunes account, and you can also pull them back. So let's say you wanted to buy an application, you can actually retain those licenses inside the school to continue using no matter what iPad you get. As long as the app is continuing to update it for the iOS, it will be available to you. What happens is if you go ahead and purchase on an iTunes account, that owner of the iTunes account, be it the iTunes apps _ your school, that account, or let's say a teacher has their own personal account on it, that account is what will receive that paid application. So that's why we always want to use the purchase applications. Let's go back and see if anybody has any questions. Perfect. All right. All right. So if a student takes their iPad home and they connect to their Wi-Fi, will it mess up AirWatch? No, it won't. You can take it to any Wi-Fi network, and AirWatch can communicate with it. There are only special circumstances, and very clever kids are the only ones that may figure it out. But no, there's no way to do that. It won't do it. And those special circumstances, once that iPad comes back onto another Wi-Fi, we could actually take the steps to prevent it from connecting to the Wi-Fi that's having those problems. We cannot see you have drop down menus. Let's see. I'm not sure what that means, David. Can you clarify? And I'll answer that in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the other question. Once you clarify that, I will go ahead and get further. I'll get that into detail. Okay, so I have an iPad that I wiped, and now I can't find it in AirWatch. I wiped it because the iPad is only charging to about 28%. Do I need to create a ticket? So that depends. So inside the iPad, so we have a few ways of doing things when it comes to setting up iPads. The first way is the way that the majority of the district iPads are set up at this time. It's something that we want to move away from. But most iPads, when you first start them up and you go through the initial setup, they start as a staging iPad. That means that they live up in the Denver Public Schools organizational group, because we don't know where it belongs until you put in some credentials, be it a generic student account, which we've created through AirWatch, or be it a staff's credentials, so staff members can sign into their iPads, and it will actually move it into your container. If for the circumstances of if you have a one-to-one initiative in your school, we have actually quite a few of them. We have Ashley, DCI's Fairmont, and a few others. Those actually, we recommend that they sign in with the student's credentials. So the student puts in their 6-digit lunch number and the birth date, and it'll actually sign them in and populate into your AirWatch group. Got it. Okay. Thank you, David. So if you want assistance in figuring out what's going on with that iPad, we can definitely help. What I would suggest is, if you remember the username that belonged to it, let's see. Okay, so if you put in a ticket, we can absolutely help you. But maybe I can give you some of those skills to actually be able to go back and do this yourself. So anyway, with most of the iPads are actually have generic user accounts, which we create in AirWatch, and so we'll have a list of those for you, and we can actually go ahead and collect that list and submit it to you guys if you're unsure. We can actually show how many iPads per user and everything of that nature. But I would suspect you just need to open the AirWatch agent. I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. It's just that it'll just be this icon here on the desktop or the home screen. If you click that, when it opens up, you should see a login dialog. And if you put in those generic credentials, it will then put it back into your container. But yeah, go ahead and create a ticket, and we're more than happy to help you out. Can you change the name of an iPad? So yes and no. So we can definitely go ahead and create new users based on what your school criterias are. I know that we went through and created a lot of really generic ones, like the school number, and then just a bunch of like iPad dash 1 through 200, or school number dash and ST and then 1 through 90. We definitely did that, a lot of that. So to be able to change those ones or any others, let's say you have another reason to change an iPad over, we definitely can change the name. We do have to wipe the device though, because AirWatch and the way that the AirWatch and the MDM interface, it doesn't let us change those inside the AirWatch console or on the iPad and actually directly impact that. What we'd like to do is if you want to change the name, what I would say is go ahead and send us what you'd like those names to be, and the serial number of the iPads that they're going to go to, and we'll go ahead and create those names and associate those iPads. So when you do go back through and wipe those iPads and re-enroll them, they'll come back up specifically how you would like them named. The only caveat to that is that we do require the school number first. School number dash, and then based after that, everything after that is how you utilize it in your school. So if it's going into classroom 103, you can do, let's say, 194-103-01 through 30, or 1 through 6, depending on how you utilize it. So that's how we do it. Like I said, unfortunately, AirWatch doesn't allow us to just rename the iPad directly. So what about updating iPads to iOS 10? So iOS 10, we are still currently blocking. It's something that we're going to reevaluate very soon. The last time we evaluated was the end of October, and the reason we at that time did not release the block was due to compromised status on iOS, not on iOS, but on TestNav application. So to be in compliance with for certain schools that use the iPads to test, we actually had to make sure that no iPads updated, because at the time we did not have a way of blocking only those iPads that are utilized for testing. So I do apologize about that. We're working on the solution, and hopefully we have that fairly soon. And we will send out an STRL once we do release it. And let's go on to the next question. What is the fix if an app isn't working on an individual iPad but is working on the other iPads in the group? Is that possible? Absolutely. So there's a handful of things you would want to do first. First of all, if the question is if the app isn't installing correctly, well, there's a few things you'd want to look at. One, we want to make sure that it's on iOS 9 or better. There's a few ways to do that if it's on iOS 8 or 7 or 6. What we'd do is you'd hook it up to an iTunes account and run an update to it. So you install iTunes on a computer, you go ahead and make sure iTunes is completely up to date, and then hook up the iPad to it and run. There's two different possibilities. One is to just run the update from iTunes and update the software so you're not impacting the way it's currently set up. Or two, it's to run a restore on the iPad. The restore will wipe everything, but it will also update it to the newest OS. Let's see. Let's say that an app is just not opening. If an app's not opening, the trick to that is, and I can actually show you. Let's go ahead and go in here. Let's go ahead and, Brian, I apologize, but I'm going to use yours again. We'll reinstall it. 48?
Yeah.
What was the school number again?
158.
158 iPad 48. Right, wrong container. I apologize. Give me one moment.
One of the other things I've seen is if you have more devices in the group.
So what we'll do is if the app is just not launching, you're frustrated, you press it, it does that the little animation on the icon saying it's launching. What we do is we come over here to apps, right here. We try to find the application that's having this problem. Well, we only have a handful of applications on here, so we're gonna go, or two applications. So what we're gonna do is, let's say that on this specific iPad, so you search for your iPad. Like I said, I really like using this because it makes it simpler and easier to find the iPad I'm looking for. But we could have gone here, and I'll go ahead and show you this. Let me go ahead and find his organization. Pasquale. Oh, got it. All right, here we go. So I'm going to come over here. We'll go ahead and Devices, List View. And we can either search through here, or again, we can use this other search. This search here, the white one, is only searching for your current material here. The blue one up here searches for everything in your organizational group. So we'll go up here, but we know that it's iPad number 48. So I'm just gonna search -48, and here it is. Go ahead and click on that iPad. All right, go back to the apps, which is here. So what we can do from the console here is we can say, well, we know you're having some trouble, app. We're just gonna go ahead and remove you for a moment. So we're gonna go ahead here and we're gonna wait for that application to get removed. I know, again, it's really hard for you to see this, but as you can see, let's see, the iStation application is gone. I know I didn't show you before, but let's go ahead and click install again. So you watch the iPad and verify the app came off, and then we'll go ahead and click the install command. So we should see that app pop up in just a moment. There we go. So even though this iPad already has it assigned inside of a group, if you target that specific iPad and its device details, you can come through and click on the apps and go ahead and remove it with the X, and then wait for it to come off. Once it's off, go ahead and press the reinstall button, the install button right there. All right. Let's go back to our question. Let's see, which app will help you win the Broncos tickets? Well, the Broncos. No idea. Apparently, I missed that one. Let's see. Let me go ahead and make sure I didn't miss any up here. All right, it looks like I'm good. Is there any other questions? I think.
So I have a comment specifically about the app isn't working. Is sometimes I've seen it not getting the app because the number of devices in the smart group is more than the number of assigned licenses.
Gotcha. Okay, that is a really good point. So Thomas says, so if you're not seeing the application install at all, if it's not popping up, all the other iPads are getting it, and this one isn't. Well, let's go here. So I'm going to go ahead and switch my groups around again. All right, so we'll go apps and books, list view, and purchase. All right, so we know that on let's go ahead. We know that on this organizational group, we have 4 iPads, right? Well, let's say that I added a new one. Let me show you a scenario. So let's say I have this smart group with 4 iPads in it, and so I allocate 4 application licenses to it. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll click save. All right, so those iPads should receive that application, the Arrow one. That's one of the Project Lead the Way ones, by the way. I don't just have video games. All right, so let's say, so we can come back here and verify. So we got 4 devices, 4 allocated, and 4 redeemed. Well, let's say, well, tomorrow I just bought a new iPad. And it just came in, I get it set up in AirWatch, and then I tag it, and I'm like ready to go. We go ahead and add tag. There we go, I get my tag on there. I click save. All right, so we're ready to go now, right? I'm excited. I know I'm ready for Project Lead the Way, and I pull out the iPad, and my application's not there. I just don't know why. So what at that point I would recommend, since all your other iPads are getting it, is we'd come back here into the purchased, and we come and look at that application and try to figure out what's going on. So we can go ahead and either click here or edit assignment. We'll go ahead and click the here this time. Now I'm looking here and I'm like, well, I've got enough licenses. I've only got 6 Project Lead the Way iPads, or 5. I mean, I only have 5 Project Lead the Way iPads, but I have 10 licenses. Well, over here it says I have 5 devices, but I only have 4 redeemed. Oh, my allocation is too low. So I'd come in here and I would just either up that to 5, or if I know that I'm not going to use this app on any other iPads, I could just put the full 10 in here and go ahead and click save. And that would make it so that all of those iPads will get the Arrow application at that point. All right.
Just came over some notes from another time. Maybe refresh people's memory on how to whitelist websites
Okay, so Brian is asking how to
or blacklist.
Either or.
whitelist and blacklist websites. All right. So to whitelist and blacklist websites, that is another profile. So we'll go ahead and say we just logged into AirWatch. We'll go to Devices, Profiles, List View, and now we're like, well, I don't have a blacklist or a whitelist already. Well, let's just pretend that I don't. So we'll go ahead and click Add Profile, select iOS. All right, now we're gonna always name it. So we're gonna do whitelist, right? I'll show you both of them, but let's say it's a whitelist. So again, we don't want to add this to some restrictions we already have or anything like that. We want to have its own payload. So if I click, so this right here, content filters, is where you whitelist and blacklist. So if I click here and open that up, I do not want to come back to restrictions and use that as well. We want to have those separate in separate profiles. So go back to content filter. All right. So what we're seeing here when you first click content filter is this is actually setting it up to whitelist, which is allow specific websites. So I know that, let's say this is for my 5th grade. They utilize things that my younger grades don't use, right? So they use YouTube. So I want to whitelist YouTube for them. They use it for research projects, something. We'll have to go ahead and label it because this does create a favorite inside of Safari. Go ahead and click Add. And we want them to be able to get to Google Mail, right? We want to be able to get there. We'll go ahead and Google, or you know, let's see, a few others. So this, what will happen is if we do this, if we set it up this way, these are the only websites those iPads can visit, no matter if they're inside of Denver Public Schools, on the Denver Public Schools website or on network. It doesn't matter. These are the only websites that these iPads can actually visit. So let's go ahead and come up here. We're going to go ahead, instead of whitelisting, we let our students go ahead and do it a little bit more openly. We've built some trust with them. You know, it took a while, but we built some trust. So we do know that we've had some trouble with YouTube in the school. So we're going to go ahead and say, well, you know, we've had trouble, so we're going to go ahead and just block YouTube this time, guys. We're just going to block it. All the other websites are available. Well, we find out that, you know, kids are going to, I know, instead of playing the math games we want them to, they're going to cool math games, right? Oh, hold on. I don't even remember the website, but cool math games, something like that. They're going there just a little too much. They're not spending their time wisely. So we're going to go ahead and block cool math games as well. So that's what this deny websites does as well. This is your blacklist, whereas allow websites this is your whitelist. So there's one extra thing inside of the blacklist, which is automatically filter inappropriate websites. So this is something we as DoTS do not have control of. It is very restrictive, but in most circumstances, it is probably still appropriate. You don't need to do that because we do a great job at filtering through our network. The majority of sites are blocked. We do know of some little things that some students use, but for the most part, we do a pretty good job. So that is your blacklist, and like I said, that filter right there is inside a blacklist. Go ahead and close out of there. Did you have any others?
The idea of if a student deletes the app, still you put the app on there, and the number will come right back up.
Absolutely. Okay, so he would Brian would like me to explain about how if a student does, let's say we're not blocking app removal, which is a option in the restriction, so devices, profiles, list view. I'll go ahead and show you how to do that. Let's say you are having trouble with students actually removing apps. We'll go ahead and create a new restrictions profile. So we'll just call this app removal. Go ahead to restrictions, configure. So this is a enormous amount, just astronomical amount of settings. It takes a lot of time to go through and really get a great feeling of this. I really do recommend going through, trying some out, see what it does, see how it impacts your classroom, and then go back and modify it. But let's go down to the one that Brian's asking about here. All right. So allow app removal right here. That setting right there, if it is unchecked, what will happen is that no app is removable without the console. That means if an app is installed by iTunes account, no, that app is not removable. If it's installed through AirWatch, it's not removable. Okay, let's go to the case that, well, you're giving your students freedom to go ahead and try different apps. But you do have, let's say you do have iStation on there, right? If a student does remove iStation from an iPad that you are pushing as a automatic application, so let's go ahead and look at those automatic applications. So if we go to apps and books, list view and purchased, come over here. Let's go back to Arrow because we were playing with that one. We're going to go ahead and scroll down here. This is the deployment. And the assignment type in the deployment, what it does here is when you have it set to automatic or auto, what will happen is that will automatically install the iPad as soon as you assign it to the iPad, as well as if that application gets deleted, gets removed, AirWatch periodically will check in with that iPad to see if it has all of its applications that it needs based on what you've told it needs. So this application will reinstall after, I'm not sure the exact check-in time, but I'd say about 8 to 12 hours. It should go out and look to see if it needs those applications. On some occasions, it can be 24 hours. And also, it does have to have a network connection. But it will check in to see if it needs it, and it will reinstall it. So if you are worried about that, you can set it that way. It does become inconvenient. Let's say a kid is fooling around with it and it knows that he needs to take an iStation test in 15 minutes and they remove it. Well, you can go ahead and open up on that iPad, open up the app, the DPS app catalog, and go ahead and click the install button there. Or we can come into the console and say, well, we want to go ahead and make sure it's installed. So we'll come over here. See, there's my daughter's, the iPad that I signed in with my daughter. We'll go ahead and go to apps. And we can say, well, we want to make sure that's installed. We'll go ahead and just force install that. And that will also send the command to the iPad to install. That may have been a bad example. Let's go to one of those ones with the arrow on it real quick. Here we go. We can come here and say, all right, apps. We want to make sure Arrow's reinstalled. We'll go ahead and click here, and there we go. And that will reinstall it like before. All right, let's go back.
Question there. If it is removed by AirWatch, will it still periodically check in and reinstall it?
Yes, so let's say you're having a rough time with an app just like we had before. What is the fix for an app that's not working? Let's say you came in here and you're like, well, I don't have the iPad in front of me, but the teacher is saying that that app is actually having trouble. What we could do is you could go ahead and remove it, and AirWatch will send that command to the iPad for it to be removed. And then the same thing as before is after that app is removed, it will begin checking in to see if it needs to reinstall anything. So it will reinstall that application. All right? Let's see. Any other questions? All right. Let's see. We got through quite a few. You have another one?
This is a reminder, but there was a way that you don't have to type in your password every single time for when you do a VPN.
You mean the volume purchase?
Yeah. So you sync assets under the apps and books. When you push it out, you don't have to type in your password every single time when it's asking for it when to install on an iPad.
Oh, that's just
right.
enable device assignment.
Right. Yeah. Brian just was he was bringing back up the utilizing the volume purchase program over the iTunes account, and the reason is because that way when you add a new app, you can seamlessly do it without having to actually go out and touch the devices. It saves a lot of time. Let's say you have a kindergarten class and they're like, oh, we really want, well, let's go ABC alphabet phonics. We really want that today. And you're like, unfortunately we all have a bunch of duties. I've got lunch duty. I got to do this stuff in this classroom, or maybe I'm teaching a class. I don't have a lot of time for that. But what you might have enough time for is go, well, I've got the ABC alphabet already from the volume purchase program, or maybe you don't. Maybe you just need to go grab it real quick from the volume purchase program. You go and buy it through the volume purchase program. You sync your assets, and then you just come here real quick, edit assignment, click enable device assignment, and then you come over here, you target the smart group. Let's say we want to make sure it's on all the iPads in the school. This is a big request by the principal, and you just don't have time to go out all of them. You can assign it to all those iPads, click save, and that will begin pushing to those iPads without you having to go out and putting in a password on 50, 20, 150 iPads. It makes it much easier, quicker, faster. All right. Let's see. So this question from Robert is, say I get 30 licenses of an app through VPP, allocate those to a cart. Sometime later, another teacher also wants that app on their iPads. So let's say it's a great example. So, well, let's go back here. So we're going to use ABC Phonics again, or Alphabet Phonics. So Zane Tag Smart Group, right? That let's pretend that's my cart. That's in my classroom. I'm a kinder teacher, but my teammate, the other kinder teacher, is like, wow, that is the best app in the world. I'd like to have it. Can you get that for me? I only have, here, let's pretend I have 50 devices, but I only have, good, it's actually maybe a good example. Let's say you do have 30 in each classroom. Well, I bought the 50, I pushed out, let's say I pushed out 50 to the one cart, or not 50, but 30 to the one cart. Now all I have left for Deborah's iPads, she's my teammate, by the way, we'd go over here. Well, I don't have 30 licenses to give. I don't have a full 60 to give. I only have 50. See, we can see once I've actually set it, it says I don't have enough. Now, if I try to click save, it says the save failed. So what I would have to do is I'd have to go back out to the volume purchase program. Let me see if I can get to it and do this relatively quickly. All right, so I know I need at least 10 more of those ABC alpha, if I could spell it right. Oh, nope. Let me just copy it over here. So, I'll just copy that whole name. Because we all know that the volume purchase program is not always the easiest to navigate. Sometimes the name, it's hard to find the name you want. So here it is. This is the one we want. So I know I need at least 10 more. So to be able to do both classrooms, I would come over here and I could just buy 10 more. So I'm going to go ahead and place that order. And I'm going to go ahead and check my purchase history right here, right? And I'm going to see it right here. It still says it's processing. I'm going to go ahead and refresh that. See if Apple has actually given me my license yet. Look at that. I've got my licenses now. I've got 10 more. So we're going to come back into our apps and books, list view, and purchased. And we're going to go ahead and sync our assets. So now this is going out and checking with Apple to see if we have any extra licenses. So it doesn't show that I got any more yet, but let's go ahead and refresh the page. Let's see what it says. So now I have 60 applications here that I can assign. So I can come back to this. Since I already set this application for device-based assignment, I don't have to actually re-enable that. So I can come back down here, and now I can go back and I can give Deborah 30 licenses, and I can give keep myself at my 30 that I had before to make sure that I had enough for my class. And then at that point, I'm able to save that application, or save, and then you will see that it's pushed out. In the case of paid applications, so let's say that the one I use far too often, because it used to be free and it was amazing and great, and now they charge for it, but Stack the States. So let's say the Stack the States, we want it, and it's a pretty good app. We want to go ahead and come over here and we say, well, I already have, 25 of these in one cart, but I need another 30 for another cart. I would come over here, I would put in my quantity, and I'd look at my subtotal, and then right here, I would always want to click Manage Distribution. So this works the same way once you've paid for it. So the only thing that is different about a paid application in the way that it interfaces is this button right here and the fact that it costs money. A tip about the volume purchase program: always consider buying 20 if you're buying 10 or less, or 10 or more. So if you need 10 of these applications, let's say you want to buy 10 Stack the States, at that point you might as well just buy a full 20, because it's the same price. So we have 10, it's $29.99, and 20 is $29.80. So it's relatively the same price. So it's always worthwhile to go with the 20 if you're exceeding 10. All right, let's go back over here. So like I said, once you sync the application or sync assets, it will show up. You may have to refresh the page, and then you can assign it as needed. We'll go back and see. So yes, absolutely, you can get more. It just depends on how you have it set up. You can always add to the number of licenses. All right. Okay, how we doing, guys? Anybody else have any questions? And again, on those new features, like I said, we are working on the documentation. We just have to go through a specific process in how we go ahead and get those to you. We want to make sure they're clear and concise, so we're not confusing you guys on anything. We do understand that we do this every day, and you guys only get to really do this every once or twice a month, because once you have it set up, you have it set up. So we want to make sure that we're not doing it to our audience. We want to make sure that we go through and verify that it's not confusing for you guys. So that's why it takes a little while for us to get our documentation to you. All right, and as Sam is saying, please do take the survey. That's how they get credit for the class, right?
Attendance.
Yeah, so they do please take the attendance and fill out the survey so you get your credit for the class. And if there's no other questions, I'll give you guys a handful of minutes. I do know that we have a slight delay on the stream, but if you've got any more questions, I'll give you a moment. Any tips that you would like to give beyond the ones you've suggested?
I can't think of anything else at the moment. If I think of something,
yeah. And if you do have further questions, feel free to reach out to Thomas and myself. We're more than happy to answer any questions you have at any point in time. What's the website for the survey and the attendance? So Sam is actually going to be posting that in just a moment. So just give him a handful of minutes.
I don't know how I left it.
All right. He'll go ahead and post it in here, in this. We'll also send you an email with it as well. All right. Okay. All right.
I had it on the description and then I took it out.
All right. I apologize. We are working on it. We will have it very soon. So what we'll do is let's see who is. We got a pretty full house.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, it's gone there, Sam. There we go. Sorry about the confusion. All right. You guys have a wonderful evening, and I hope that we've answered all your questions. Again, if you feel free to go ahead and submit your questions via email, and Thomas and I are more than happy to help. For your iPads that you're having trouble with, go ahead and submit a ticket to the DoTS hotline or through Heat Self Service, and we'll go ahead and come out and give you a hand with that. All right, you guys have a wonderful day. All right.